Oh, I just saw Shannon put something out in your Discord.
Yeah, right. She's always on top of that.
You're live.
Hey, I'm live. All right. So, hi everybody. I am Gamer Mom Luna, better known as Luna, and you can say hi to all of my guests. I'm super excited to be joined here today with a really great group of people. I have brought in a few people that are new to our community and a few people that are regulars in our community or are somewhat new to our community. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to go around and introduce themselves. So DiceBarbarian, Tony, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, she just said it. I'm the DiceBarbarian. Tony. I'm DiceBarbarian on the Twitters. So you can find me there. I do a lot of TTRPG acting. I do a show with How I Nerd. We just started last night. Tabletop Tavern 2. It's wonderful. I've got our Ateris podcast is dropping tomorrow night. The next episode, you can catch that on Spotify's Dice Tyrants. Ateris, just look up. It's ATERIS. It's a Savage Worlds game, live play that we podcast, and other stuff. That's me. I'm Tony.
All right, Tony. Thanks so much for being here tonight. MacJackalRanger, let's toss it over your way.
Hey everyone, I'm MacJackalRanger. I build costumes, I play video games, I do a little bit of everything tabletop-wise, from something as simple as never tell me the odds to something as complex as... Oof, it would take too long to explain.
Well, thank you very much for being here. Clayton, what is up with you?
Hi, I'm Clayton. I'm from ParadiceRPGs, live play D&D 5e campaign we run every Monday. I've been playing D&D on and off for about 3 years now, and looking forward to hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining. I'm glad Shannon was able to put me in touch with you and with Stefan.
Hey, that's me.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm Stefan. You can find me anywhere, TheStefinator, right below here. I play Curon on ParadiceRPGs, Advantage in Paradise, as with Clayton. Him and my character, we got a little something going on. I don't know what it is. We have fun. That's what's important. But yeah, happy to be here. I've been doing, D&D stuff for about 2 years now, and loving this community. It's way too nice and welcoming.
I don't know about too nice, but it's definitely an awesome
nice.
space. Okay, fine. It's too nice. And last but not least, DM Devon.
Hey, how you guys doing? You might know me from such shows as TotalPartyChill and Quiz of the Coast. I wanted to say that like the Simpsons guy, but I couldn't do it. But you know who I'm talking about. But I'm DM Devon, one of the co-founders of TotalPartyChill. And stoked to be here. This is great.
Yeah, we're super excited that you all could join us tonight. Well, us being the How I Nerd community. So for those of you in chat who are new to the show, what we do is just kind of have a general conversation about Yacht's Twitch, Troy McClure. We just kind of have a general conversation about TTRPGs and all things nerdy. We do take questions from chat. So if you have questions, please feel free to drop them into chat. We have Yachts here is moderating for us tonight. He can help make sure that we get your question answered. Feel free to ask a broad question for everybody in the group, or just a more pointed question if you have anything that you want to follow up on with anything that anyone has said. So outside of that, I'm going to throw this question out there. I think a couple of you may have had to answer this one from me in the past, but this is always one of my favorite questions that I like to ask everybody. So I'm going to just throw this out there. Do your dice have to match?
Yes, that is a requirement.
Absolutely.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I have every color under the sun.
Really? I am also of the my dice have to match camp. So
I
guess I'm a piece of dice trash. I grab whatever's closest.
Whatever's closest.
I like that.
Yeah, I had somebody that was telling me one time. I put this question out there, and their answer actually was really kind of neat. they said their dice have to match, but they use different sets of dice depending on the type of damage they're doing. So like if they're using a caster and they're doing ice damage, they'll use blue dice. If they're doing fire damage, they'll use red dice, things like that. I was like, oh, that's definitely that's totally something I would do. So I was like, I have an appreciation for that.
Yeah, the closest I get to that is I buy a different set of dice for every character I play.
I do the same thing.
Oh,
that's the only thing that's part of my character creation is it's like, what is this guy like? What is this?
Yeah.
Okay, gold. Okay, let's run with gold with this guy and see where it goes. Yeah, that's about the closest I get.
Yeah,
I start doing that. I buy the dice and I'm like, yeah, this is gonna work, and then I just start using all.
And
my
then
dice
it's just
again, 'cause
madness.
it all goes in the same bag. I can't keep it straight.
So dare I ask how many sets of dice you have?
Not too bad. I think I lowered it at some point. Like I gave some away and stuff. I probably have like 30 sets.
Oh,
Yeah,
see, that makes me feel so much better because I have like 12 and people always look at me like you are nuts. But it's I go to PAX East every year. And so for me, the thing is that I buy a set every year that I go to PAX East. And so, I've been doing that for this year was my 9th PAX East. So
Nice.
and then you figure I had a few sets before that. So yeah.
I've been to 3 PAX Easts. And
Have you?
I bought a bunch of dice there too.
Yeah, well, it's because like everybody in the tabletop section sells them. So
Right. And that's what most it is.
I think so. We give a lot of dice away on our show.
yeah.
And I think if I like count the ones I have on hand, it's probably upwards of like 200 sets.
Wow.
Because like we give a lot of them away, but like I have them there, so I'm like, I like this set. We'll use this set today.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't get to use my physical sets as much anymore because I play in 3 actual play campaigns, but they're all done using Fantasy Grounds. So I don't get to actually use my dice anymore because I never get to play in person anymore.
Yeah. I think my thing comes from when I first started with the original dice that was the little like chalk looking like solid colored neon green, neon yellow, orange that you had to fold and put together to roll the dice when you put the first original box sets. So yeah. And so like and everybody had to use the same dice because back in the 80s, it was hard to like get downtown to get a new set of dice, because it wasn't as popular as it is now. So everybody had to use the exact same dice. And so you end up like, I want my own dice now. And so now I think it's just like a thing that stuck with me that I got to have my own dice. Okay, now all my characters have to have their own dice. This guy's going to have 2 different sets. Yeah, I genuinely think it comes from that because we all had to share the same dice growing up.
Okay, so here's something. I used to do this I still do, but I run like D&D games professionally, and especially like teaching people how to play. So when I go to like these companies or I go to like people's houses, I have dice sets I've made by just ordering in bulk from Chessex that are color coded. So all of the D20s are white, all of the D4s are green, all the D6s are red. So when you say roll a D6, they're like which one? Like roll the red one.
That's smart, bro.
That is a really smart idea.
Yeah, it's one of the number one onboarding things I've learned for dice when it comes to new players.
That's smart, bro.
That's
for
a
real.
great idea.
Having to teach people that kind of stuff, that's smart to color code that. I like that a lot, actually. I might steal that, just so you know.
Please do.
Yeah, I might actually steal that one. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Mac, what were you going to say?
Personally, running things from an operative standpoint, I usually just invest heavy in one set. I've got a set of metal dice that I use and a couple sets in reserve in case someone else needs it because, well, if history has taught me anything of rolling dice, you can never have enough dice. And if you do have enough dice, it's not going to be a fun evening for them.
If you have enough dice, you're doing it wrong. That's my thought anyway.
Fair.
Actually, having a set of dice right next to my desk actually saved. So Monday nights, Mac and I play in a campaign together, and we kept having issues where we were getting booted out of Fantasy Grounds. Like there was just some connection issues going on, and thankfully, I had a set of dice sitting like right within arm's reach because, the GM is like, okay, roll a spirit check or whatever it was. And I go to roll and he's like, and we're disconnected from the game. And I'm like, okay, wait, I have dice right here. It was like the one time I've rolled an actual die for an actual roll in a really long time.
I'm not gonna lie, you saved my butt there a couple times with rolling like that. You know that set you sent me in the
Yeah.
knitted bag?
Yep.
That was a godsend.
That's right. I forgot you used that the other day.
I'm worried about my dice. I quote like to bless them. So sensor here, smoke there, a little bit of sage, mix, serve with side of parsley. She sends me a fresh set out of PAX because, well, I don't know why, but I'm very grateful for it.
I guess it'd be nice to dip your dice in Lake Minnetonka.
Oh no, I'm not that classy. I'm not that classy.
Give him a little Prince love.
Right? Oh, man.
Doves cry.
Luna, you mentioned the dice that have to match. Counter question to that.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to mix up the dice if, quote, some dice rolled better than others? Because let's be a bit on the honest side here.
That's not how dice work.
Yeah. No, I can't do that. I would have to swap out the entire set.
Yep, I'd bag the whole set.
Yep.
That's not how dice work.
Here's the thing is, like, I don't know if I would do that or not, since I don't roll bad.
Well, brag about it, why don't you?
Yeah, I find the camera gives me luck rolling dice. Whenever I'm on stream, I roll better than if I play other games.
Huh.
I also have a little ritual that I do before sessions. I bless my dice with whatever I have under my desk, because that's usually where I find them.
That's actually, for me, that would be terrifying because I have cats, and so I would be like, okay, well, I bless my dice with cat hair. Awesome. Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
So speaking of you mentioned something about Devon, about doing stuff for new players and dice for new players. So it got me kind of thinking about when somebody new to TTRPGs approaches you, what's like your first piece of either advice or information that you tell them when they say like, hey, I'm thinking about getting into playing, what should I do, or where do I start? What would you tell them?
I guess I usually sell them on like the concept of TTRPGs, and I tell them like, hey, listen, like, when was the last time you used your imagination? Mostly when you were reading a book, but the difference is you're not going to be just reading a book using your own imagination. Like, other people are going to influence it as a group. So imagine like the imagination you're using when you're reading a book, except with 4 other people. It's something that we don't do as adults typically, and that's why so many people, the first time they played, like, this is so fun, I want to do it again.
Yeah.
And that usually kind of gets across the concept of like why it's so fun, and it gets people really intrigued. And the other thing I always tell people is like, don't tell me what don't look at your character sheet. Don't look at that. I want you to tell me what you want to do in this scenario. You tell me what you want to do, and then I'm going to show you on your sheet where that is. And keep that as like the concept throughout the night. And that, again, is like another great kind of onboarding. Like, well, I want to try to lift the rock. I'm like, cool, let me show you how you do that. Because if you're a new player, you're looking at the sheets like, well, I don't know what an athletics roll is. Is that maybe just pump an iron? Because like, I don't, So skills and checks and things don't always translate over to like new players. And so you just say like, what do you want to do? And like, we'll walk through it together. And I'm going to show you what that means based off of what action you want to take.
Nice. Yeah, I like that idea a lot. What about the rest of you? Any other tips or tricks or ideas that you tell new players?
That I tell them pretty much kind of the same thing, is don't worry about those rules. That's what everybody else is for. You don't need to worry about the rules. You worry about what you want to do, and you connect with your character and try to stay true to what you think your character is going to do. If it feels a little bit off, even if it feels a little bit weird, go ahead and pull it out and do it, and we can work through it as a group. Because I'm the same way. I look at TTRPGs. It's just a group storytelling. It's just flash fiction in its purest form, where it's a hero's journey that you're pumping out with other people to try and create something special. And I try to get that through. It's like, the paper is just there as a reference point to help you do whatever your brain comes up with, but that's not going to tell you what your brain's going to want to do. Just flow with it and live it and allow that to manifest itself organically. And the more you talk to them that way, the more because then it's scary. Like you sit down, it's like you're looking at a math quiz. You're like, what the hell is this? Like remember the days in THACO? Like you're like, what the shit is all this? That's what it was, and that's intimidating to people, you know? And you're like, don't worry about all that. You worry about telling a story and having fun, and the rest of it will take care of itself. So that's my only advice I give.
It's interesting because I've had a number of friends that joined in that came in kind of for the mechanics of it. You know, like they're not great role players, which is fine. You don't have to be. But you know, like min-maxers and stuff like that. And to the point where it's like, you know, I was DMing for them and I was like, yeah, you know, let's just have fun with it. And then they're like asking me like all these questions about like optimizing their characters. And I was like, this is over my head. I have no idea.
They're trying to win. They're trying to win D&D. Those are guys that come in trying to win the game.
Right. And if they're having fun that way, then that's totally fine. You know, I'm more than happy to do it because I like the mechanics too. But it's interesting because, you know, coming from that I mean, they're all engineers, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, when I play with people like that, I try to focus more towards the descriptive side of D&D. Like I'll have less role playing and more describing what my character's doing, just like explaining facial expressions instead of actually doing them. And like I think that's like an easy way to slowly transition people into the more role play side of the game.
Yeah. I think with min-maxers, I might be a bane because I do like a lot of IRL puzzles.
Right.
So we were playing once, and the Tabaxi monk, you know, they had to pick a lock in X amount of time. The Tabaxi monk's like, I got a great sleight of hand. It was maxed out. I don't know how it got to plus 18, but it was something like that. I was like, all right, great. And then I brought out an actual lock in a locking set. And I had a camera like on him picking the lock while he did it. And I was like, you got 2 minutes. And it was the most like the entire group, like something bad was going to happen if they didn't do it in time. And he got it in like a minute and 3 seconds.
Oh, nice.
He has never picked a lock before, but it's one of those clear ones. So you can see the tumbler, and he was just trying his best, and he got it.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool. I like
that's
that.
one way I deal with min-maxers. But not deal. It's like more like hey, here's another way to play the game. Like it's not just an easy roll, you know. Like here's and they all loved it.
Of course they did. That's awesome. That's going above and beyond.
Yeah, props always make the game more fun.
That's the one thing I miss, and because all of my work now is just like this. It's remote, with different networks. But that's one thing I do miss is the face-to-face, the sharing the drinks, the props, those kind of things. I miss that a lot. It makes you want to open up a studio, and get everybody moving where
I
you
want to
are.
hug my players so bad right now. I miss them so much.
Yeah. I totally get that. I don't even know anybody you work with, but I totally understand what you're saying. So that's cool that you did that. That would be really.
Yeah, the props really had to.
Go ahead.
The props really had to all of it. I've actually been playing the RP aspect for so many years. I've actually got an entire 3 shelves worth of props and stuff. Okay, so we need you to play a knight. All right, what kind of knight?
Yeah.
This kind of knight. Well, what does this kind of knight do? Blink, blink. Yep.
Yeah. It's true. I've seen pictures. He has a ton of props, and it's very cool.
It gets a little ridiculous sometimes.
I love it though because it brings a lot of it brings another layer to the characters that I've seen you play. Again, like he is always like in costume on our Monday night stream. Thankfully, my character is like a jeans and t-shirt kind of person. So, so I'm like, hey, all right, this is what I wore today. Awesome. I'm good to go. But he's always like full blown. What did you have? You had on like a, oh my God.
A suit, a tie, slick down body armor. I had a scarf. I had a trench coat. And the only thing that kept me from getting one of those weird slings is I couldn't really find a way to incorporate it.
And
I just realized how absurd I am. I apologize.
Hey, we all have fun our
That's
own
how
way,
you
so.
game, dude. Oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
just roll.
the other
That's
thing that's
awesome.
funny too, we have yet to actually do it, but the panels that Mac and I are in on the screens for that particular show are I sit directly above him. So I have sent him a prop and he has sent me a prop, so we each have
Oh,
identical
that's so
ones.
cool.
Yeah. I know.
We're just sitting there waiting to.
So we're waiting for the opportune moment to be able for me to be like, I throw my character is a werewolf with major anger management issues who has taken up knitting in order to help cope with some of that.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And so she knits with these knitting needles that are about this big around. So they can ironically double as vampire stakes. Yeah. Max got it right there.
Comparison.
Yeah. So I have a set and I sent him a set. So now I could be like, if I need to drop them on him for whatever reason, I can.
Oh my god. I have a number of foam weapons at our studio. We did for our year anniversary, we all did cosplay.
Oh, that's fun.
And we were all at the studio getting ready together, and that was like a lot of fun. But we were like, painting one of our players completely blue because he's a blue tiefling. Another player red because he was a red dragonborn with like this kind of janky mask we got. Well, we had so much fun, but it was like it was very funny because we were all sitting there getting ready together before we went on.
Oh,
I think
man.
that was like, but yeah, I think we all missed that with the quarantine kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they talk.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Everything cosplay related that I've ever done has come from Halloween costumes. I've
Smart.
got, like a Mickey Mouse hat that I just cut the ears off, and now it's a wizard hat. I could use it for everything. I did a caveman one year. I have a giant plastic mace, which is just all around perfect for barbarians. That's
Yeah.
about it.
Real talk though, Halloween stores are a great place to build up like a crazy prop armory. I mean,
Yeah.
I cut most of my stuff out of foam. This is actually two pieces of foam. Put it together with some contact cement. Try not to gas myself out again.
Yeah, please don't do that.
One time, okay, 3 times it happened. It's not happening a fourth.
Yeah, let's not do
Sounds like a habit.
It's not happening a fourth time.
that.
I actually went to one of those Halloween warehouses like 2 weeks after Halloween this year. And I was just looking around, like excited because I thought that there would be like a million things that people didn't take. And I was like, unfortunately, a little disappointed with the amount of fantasy stuff that they had. But really cool, like scary masks, stuff like that. Like it's a lot of fun just going there to look around. Like even just your local party city is like a good time.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I did
Free
that.
candy.
Yeah, I did that this year. I did when I get to stream myself, when I'm not like actually on a show, I don't typically dress up or anything like that, but I did do that for Halloween because I have a really nice cloak that I bought at a Renaissance fair one year, but unfortunately it doesn't fit any of my characters, like because it's like it's like a purpley pink color. And, my characters are all like rogues, rangers, like people that are not going to wear purpley pink. And so I wore that and just like raided a Halloween, like a party city or something, and bought like 4 different types of like masquerade style masks. And then was just like, okay, which one looks best with my cloak? And then I did that for a Halloween stream and had a blast. I had a lot of fun doing that. Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, everybody I play with wants to do. They're like, hey, we need a cosplay. We need a cosplay. It's like, okay, dude, I can't cosplay an 8-foot tall lion, man. I can't cosplay a turtle. I can't cosplay.
Yeah,
you know,
we
like-
could be like the thing.
Maybe, I don't know. Like, I guess I lack. Yeah, you guys are like really talented and like you guys can think of this. I'm like, okay, I got to spend $1,000 to look like the guy from Wizard of Oz, the Cowardly Lion, and be like, hello, I'm Leonidas. How are you? This is Leonidas. Like, I couldn't see it happening. But yeah, they're always like, yeah, we got to do it. And so I have not cosplayed yet as a character. I've been doing it for 30 years and I have not done it, and I probably should. Probably need to make that a point this year. Maybe I'll make that a bucket list thing.
There you go.
We have a costume store, a year-round costume store 2 blocks away from our D&D studio. And so we're able to cosplay light pretty often because, like, hey, would it be funny if we all got vampire fangs tonight? And, like, we'll just pop on down and they have everything you need. Like, they're at 365.
That's terrific.
That's
But it's
freaking
San Francisco,
awesome.
so, like, we always want to dress up for something.
Fair. Yeah,
I like it. I like it a lot.
I know. It is fun. Go ahead, Mac.
And the best part about it is you don't have to go into like intricate ornate detail with just like little grooves or everything. Just simple shapes. That's all you really need to stick to. Because at about let's being honest with myself, at about the size I appear on screen right now, you're not going to get much detail other than gray shirt, gray hat, black headphones.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. I one night for our stream, our Sunday night stream, I play a halfling rogue who, like, she's not quite your typical like hide in the shadows super stealth rogue. Like she she wears like a dark red cloak. And so a friend of mine actually sewed me a cloak to wear. I did a sort of like a comfy cosplay for PAX East of my character. So it was literally like, this dress that I belted up and a pair of leggings and then this cloak that I had and, a Nerf sword because Nerf and why not? And yeah, I mean, it's just, it doesn't have to be anything super elaborate because I was like, I know who I am. And I knew that nobody else would know who I was anyway, because I dressed up as a character from our show. But it was just fun, and it didn't take me that much. And it was all mostly stuff I had around the house. So yeah, it's a good time.
I had a plan to cosplay once when I was going to a convention. It never worked out. Like I didn't actually do it, but I did buy all the shirts. I was gonna do Lucas from Earthbound.
Oh, cool.
So I have like the stripe, the white, the yellow and red striped shirt. I got pretty much like between me and my friend, we got all the skins from Super Smash Brothers for that character. And like all I would really need to do is like shave the beard and like stick the hair up in like a curly Q and it would be perfect. You need a baseball bat or a snake.
Here's the thing. What do you guys think is going to be this year's like post-quarantine top cosplays? I'm thinking a lot of Naruto running Animal Crossers.
Definitely Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the Animal Crossing cosplays are going to be like mascot costumes, like it's going to cover like the whole body type thing.
Yeah.
But like I see a lot of anime cosplay. Like I saw some really cool ones at Comic-Con, like for like My Hero and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I actually have a client that was like doing I forgot the name of the character, but he's the antagonist with the faces with the hands all over his costume. It looked so cool. He had like all these plastic like zombie like arms that were just attached all over him. It looked great.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I
might see though is a bunch of Tiger King.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I had to say it, but like that's what people are going to be doing is, probably buying illegally exotic cats. Oh, what is that show actually doing for us?
I know, it's true. That would be horrifying.
Yeah.
I'm going to start every stream with, hey, all you cool cats and kittens. Like the next year.
Oh, man.
That.
We know she did it.
He's out back under the septic tank or the lion's aider.
Oh my gosh.
That's the exact episode I'm on, by the way, Stefan.
Oh,
don't spoil anything else.
Turns out it was all a fever dream. None of it.
Okay.
It was DiceBarbarian in the conservatory with the wrench.
That's right. It's true.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of cosplay at PAX East. I mean, I see a lot of cosplay at PAX East anyway, but there's been a couple times where I've seen people literally dressed up as a meme. Like there was one guy walking around, the one with the guy who's, sitting behind the table, and it's, the change my mind one.
Right.
There was some guy walking around one year, like khaki pants and a blue shirt, and instead of having a table, he just had a sign that said, whatever it was, change my mind. And it was like, oh my God, you guys. So I have a feeling we might see some of that come out of this too.
Definitely.
One of my friends once signed up as the ghost shopping list from SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh my gosh.
God. It was like the dumbest cosplay, but he got so much, like everybody loved it for some reason. It was just like very well drawn, stupid, terrible ghost. And on the back, it just said like milk, eggs, and cheese.
Oh, that's funny.
Deep cut.
It was so much fun. I had a great time with that costume, just hanging out with them.
Yeah, I know. It's a good time. One thing that I don't see a lot of, and maybe it's just me, I know that there's a lot of people out there who do cosplay of like characters from Critical Role and stuff like that, but I have never been anywhere where I've seen a ton of it in person. So
Right.
yeah,
I saw one of our someone from our community, they cosplayed as one of our players at one of their local cons, and like I bawled.
Well, that's it. Now you've made it.
Yeah, that would be.
I was like, that's it. Like, I just wouldn't need one person, like one piece of fan art and one person to cosplay, and like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, that's it.
That is like the
let's call that now. Quit while we're ahead.
The ultimate compliment is someone doing some fan art. Fan art's amazing. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh,
and
actually,
for someone to cosplay your character, that would be like, for me, just
absolutely.
That would be it. Because I saw somebody walking around like Leonidas or Mac. You guys don't know who I'm talking about, but my characters, if I saw that, I would just be like, all right, I'm done. That's it. I'm going to go cry for about another 4 hours of happiness, and then I'm done. Because that would just be amazing for me.
Yeah. Not going to lie. If I saw someone going as a character from a story I would be a part of, I wouldn't care if it was just like a poorly adjusted shirt and a tie that was on backwards. I'd be shaking that guy's hand. I'd be getting photos with him.
Right. So it was funny. Right before PAX this year, we were lucky that we were able to get PAX in under the wire before all the quarantining and everything started. And unfortunately, one of our players from Tabletop Tavern lives in Canada and wanted to come down, but couldn't because, snow season, and, that's sort of his source of income in the winter is plowing. And so he and I were joking that next year he's going to come down to PAX, and when we see each other in the hallway, he's going to come running up to me and be like, oh my God, are you Luna from Tabletop Tavern? And cause a big commotion. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be hilarious. And then 2 hours later in a different hallway, I'll do it to him and be like, oh my God, are you Yachts from Tabletop Tavern? So
just start like a whisper campaign where you stand behind groups of people like, oh my God, did you hear who's here? And just get it.
That would be amazing. That would
just
be
have
so
me be
funny.
periscoping at the time. Yeah, I just got here, guys, and then your friends are up. Oh, are you Tony from? Da, 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 da. Oh, what a coincidence! You are. Yes,
right?
I am.
Oh, that'd be funny.
You better watch out, Luna. Next year, I'm gonna surprise you.
You better. I know, it's so much fun. We had a great time. We actually had a really great chance to meet a lot of the How I Nerd community when we were at PAX this year. Me, Mike, who is How I Nerd, and then Decider 12, who is also on both Tabletop Tavern and Tabletop Tavern 2. He just started actually it's his first DM campaign ever he's been playing for 10 months, and he decided to take on DMing on a live stream. Why not? And it was really great because we got to meet a lot of our community, and it was just really fun to hang out and just meet these people that up until that day were just screen names, or people that we would see in chat. And it's like, oh man, that is just, it's such a nice feeling when you can really put a face to the name and have something to talk about other than just like, oh, hey, glad to see you in chat, things like that.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, absolutely. If anybody ever, PAX East is the only con that I ever get to. So yeah, I'm always like, if anybody's going to PAX East, let me know because I want to meet you all.
It's a good one to pick, honestly, for the
Yeah.
East Coast.
Absolutely. It's
so
just
far.
it's just you and 45,000 of your closest friends. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Has anybody been to the board game one, the PAX Unplugged?
No.
That's on my bucket list for this year. A few of us have been talking about going down together for that. So yeah, if anybody else is planning on going, because that's in Philadelphia and it's usually like the tail end of November, beginning of December.
Mm-hmm.
I used to live over by Philadelphia. That's actually
Did
not
you?
a bad place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Used to live over in Mechanicsburg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all too
always
far from
sunny in Philadelphia. Just a rumor.
That's a lie, and not really a good show, in my
Hot take.
opinion.
Hot take.
Yeah, that's all too far from me. I'm in Utah, so flying out to the East Coast would be, it's on the list. Well, I kind of have to do it now because now I'm officially part of How I Nerd their content.
You know what we'll have to
So I
do
pretty
is
much-
like, well, I'll just have to meet in Gen Con or something. Like,
Yeah.
That's
I
a
keep
little
saying
more
Salt
central.
Lake Comic Convention. It's huge. It's massive. It's the second one
but
largest
that's too
to
far the
San Diego.
other direction.
But it's just down the street for me. It's like right there.
Yeah, but PAX East is down the street from me, so
That's true. That's true. This is make a great.
I would
argument.
like to get out. I would like to get out to like more conventions and like Gen Con's on my bucket list. Dragon Con's on my bucket list. Magic City Con is on my bucket list. So yeah, I would like to get out there, but travel and work and vacation time and whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
Life.
I'm on a strict one con per year basis.
yeah,
I'm gonna go to all of them after I can leave my house.
right.
Just all
of them.
Wherever it is, doesn't matter.
Billy and Jimmy's con down on Fifth Avenue. Right by this big oak.
Big cons. I'm gonna. You can call me the con man.
Con man.
Wait
Con
a
man in the
minute.
bank crew.
Yeah. Wait just a second.
I got a great deal on tickets.
He's standing outside. He's like got his trench coat open. He's like, "Hey,
You need to go to
wanna
PAX
buy a con
East.
pass?"
I got PAX East.
I got wristbands.
Consult the
I got
light
passes,
interests,
I got lanyards. I went to TwitchCon this last year. TwitchCon and D&D Live. And those were the two last cons I went to. And I
You went to
laughed
D&D
both.
Live? That's cool.
Yeah,
How was that, dude?
great. D&D Live was really fun. I feel like it's I wouldn't say it's a convention. I always told people I feel it's like how Apple does their keynotes. I feel like D&D's keynote.
Yeah.
You know?
Was was that the Waterdeep scene? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was it was Avernus.
Oh, that's right, Avernus, yeah.
And it was cool. I got to meet tons of great people. That's how we started our partnership with Beetle and Grimm. That's it was definitely really good for us as a stream, but it was really cool when you get there and be like, oh yeah, I know about you guys. I'm like, that's so cool.
Oh yeah. Oh, you were probably your heart was probably.
Yeah. And then you hear who you're talking to. It's like, wait, I've only heard your voice. Oh my gosh, how we rolled. This is so cool. Let's have some beer.
That's cool, dude. That would be so freaking bitching, dude. That'd be great. That'd be awesome.
It was probably the best swag bags.
Yeah.
Was what was really the swag, because it was a pretty expensive ticket, but the swag bag, you got the book, you got like a dragon miniature in there and a bunch of other goodies. So like the swag bag was fucking fire.
You're like pretty much worth it for the swag bag.
I miss really good swag bags. The PAX East swag bags have gone downhill since they started going digital. You used to get really cool stuff in them, like way back in the day. 9 years ago. I remember getting boxes of like cards for Cards Against Humanity. They would give out like oatmeal packets and like all kinds of stuff. And now it's like, okay, your digital swag bag is ready, and it's like save 5% if you do these 25 things at this one booth and then stand on your head and spin around, you know? It's like,
That's a side quest, that's a fetch quest, and that's a little ridiculous.
yeah, exactly.
Here's the thing. They actually did a really cool immersive thing at D&D Live. It was you could get yourself a soul coin that they made just for the show. It wasn't the one that Neil and Grimmy used. They're about this big, and you had to accomplish all these tasks over the weekend to get one.
Oh, that's neat.
In some tasks, you're like, oh, I'm on the right way, and it like ruins your chances to get like one of your passport spots filled. So like, you like make a deal with this princess who's actually like a demon in disguise. You'd go to this person like, hey, you know, she told me to come and tell you this, and they would take a knife and they'd stab through your passport, and like, you can't redeem this one now. And so like it was tense, and you had to like decode things and then like find a kenku and like give them a fake tooth, and then they'd give you a stamp. There was so much going on, and it was it was very fun. But you like team up with other people. It's like, hey, like we don't know each other, but you have this and I have this. We team up and you're like, yeah, okay, we're a party now. Let's do this.
Oh my gosh, that's giving me so many great ideas right now. One of the things
so many horrible ideas right now.
Well, one of the things that I've always wanted to do at PAX East is walk around as, you know, like one of those like quest giving people, like, you know, just because I thought that would be a lot of fun. But I've always been like, what would the end goal be? Because I don't want it to be like this weird fetch quest, like that, you know, is impossible to do. But like now I'm like, oh, now I could make it go all weekend, and they would have to come back and show me this thing that they accomplished, and I could make a really cool prize out of the whole thing. Yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah.
You'll get a kick out of this. One of the things is if you had to talk to 3 different people and you get 3 different parts of a song, and then you have to find the bard with the lute, and you tell him like, hey, I have a song, will you play for me? And then he plays the music to the lyrics that you got.
Oh my gosh.
And then you have to sing it, and anyone who sings it with you gets the stamp or gets the seal or whatever.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I want to go to D&D Live, and I want to go to Critical Role Live. I want to catch a Critical Role Live show too sometime. Both of those are definitely like must have. I've got to get.
I'd love to go to D&D Live. Not gonna lie, I think I'm a little overly equipped for it, but I'd love to do it.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
It all sounds really fun.
All right, that's it. We're all partying up, and we're going to D&D Live. That's it.
Yep, that's done.
All right. So who's the healer?
I'll take it. I'll take a hit. Kieran does it every Monday, so.
It's always my favorite role, support healer.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna kind of change gears for a minute. Yachts is going, let's do this. All right, Yachts is in, he's coming too. So I wanna talk a little about TTRPG systems and find out a little about what was the first system that you played, and what is your favorite system now if you've played any other ones. So Clayton, why don't you go ahead and answer that first?
Okay. I started off with 3.5, and I had a crew of guys who was very rule oriented, and I think I learned and read like the entire book, but before I even started playing my first campaign. It was very extensive, and I played that campaign for a couple months and stopped playing D&D altogether. And then I picked it back up with 5e around the time Storm King's Thunder came out, and I've been hooked ever since. It's definitely my favorite system, but since then I've branched out and played a few other ones. Some of the Fate Core little one-shots that I've done have been really fun. We've done, what is it called? Monster of the Week.
Okay.
Yeah, just some simple stuff. Nothing too complicated. I always wanted to do something sci-fi related, but there's a big gap of entry to a lot of those. I feel like I haven't read the books and like committed enough time, really, because I don't have a group for it. But I'd always be interested in something like that. The sci-fi genre is something that I always wanted to role play with.
Yeah. Nice. Stefan, how about you?
So I technically played one session of 4E in high school, but besides that, I actually started using the Genesis system by Fantasy Flight Games for their Star Wars series. It was Genesis system. We were actually using it for a different game that my buddy Tim from Paradise was running, and I really like as a player using that system, but as a DM. So for those that aren't familiar, the dice are just success failure. So like you have your good dice and bad dice. One dice has success or advantages on it. The other has disadvantage or failures. And then they cancel each other out. And based on how many successes you have, you can also get triumphs. So it's more about it's they kind of pitch it as very narrative based. So as a player, that's really cool. As a DM, game master at this point, because there's no dungeons really in Star Wars. I mean, there can be, but as the game master, I found it very hard to translate those. I felt like it was a lot more pressure, whereas with D&D, I'm able to go all right, DC's 15. You get that, cool. If you get better than that, I just feel with the numbers, it's easier for me to translate that into successor failure. Whereas with the addition of all these other you failed, but you got these advantage dice. So how does that play out? But other than that, I really enjoy it as a player. But otherwise, 5e will always be what I main.
Yeah. Devon, how about you?
I started when I was pretty young. My first experience at TTRPGs was a book where you would roll in the book. It was a choose your own adventure, but it involved dice rolls.
Oh.
And I was 5, and my mom was reading it to me, and I guess roll dice. I remember being at round table and rolling dice while she read the book to me, and it was the coolest thing ever. And then the majority of my play outside 5e was definitely 3.5. But playing things like Monster of the Week, playing things like City of Mist, Genesis. I love any kind of indie game. The thing is, I like to take rules from all of these systems, and I just push them into 5e, and because it's narratively interesting when I'll play certain hey, this adventure is all about it's a tavern crawl, so you're gonna go to all these different bars, you're gonna do different things, and creating challenges, success rates, failure rates. And the thing I like about Powered by the Apocalypse is they have a failure, a mixed success, and a full success, and they allow for a much more fluid style of play. So I'll do listen, if you roll on the DC, this is success, this is mixed success, and this is failure. So it makes it a little more interesting, where it's okay, well, you can't just fail outright all the time. You could fail partially. So you accomplish what you do, but you draw attention to yourself, things like that. So I love just jamming other rules into 5e, because 5e is the easiest to onboard people with for the most part. And so I could change things on the fly very easily. And if someone has a basic understanding of 5e, I could just bring some kind of new rule set into them.
That's awesome. Tony, how about you? How'd you get started?
I got started when I was 10, 98 or 89, excuse me. And I got started with the red, kind of reddish purple box set with the Lady and the Dragon on the D&D. I guess that's technically advanced D&D, but it's where basic kind of was making that transition into advanced. And then we had those box sets. And played that a lot. Played MERP, Heroes Unlimited, Mech Warrior. I could go on and on as a kid. So D&D has kind of always been my base. I didn't play a whole lot of 4. In fact, I don't know. I think I played one game of 4 because I kind of got out of it altogether after 4. But nowadays, things are different, right? We're all streamers. We're all content creators. One of the major things that you run into as a content creator is you get bogged down in battle, right? That's one thing that I struggle with D&D is the battles in D&D go on, and that can be really, really good, or that could really hurt your audience numbers. So we've been trying to master this kind of idea of how do we stream better, and part of that is streamlining your games. And the game that I've fallen in love with is Savage Worlds. because if you guys have not tried Savage Worlds yet, especially if you're content creators, you got to try it. It's a classless system. Not that they're, ghetto, but you can create anything, you can create any race. Everything's built off of a D4 success ratio. If you maximize your rolls, you explode your rolls, you can roll your dice again. If you explode it again, you can roll it again to maximize your successes. There's an unskilled check for things that you're not actually skilled in, so that you actually have somewhat of minute chance. And if you can explode that D4, you can actually get something good out of it. But it's built in a very fast and furious, because combat is not the point of games anymore. Combat is the accent of the game. The RP is what matters. That's just my opinion. So Savage Worlds is my favorite because with it, it's opened up so many more avenues where I'm not going to be playing combat for, if I have a 3-hour session, an hour and a half is combat. That's just destroying that can destroy a stream that fast, and it doesn't give your actors the time they need to act, right? So Savage Worlds, if you guys haven't got into it, and they've got Savage Worlds sci-fi, Savage Worlds fantasy, Savage Worlds rippers, and they've got all these different types of Savage Worlds games that are play sets that fit just about anything you want to do, and I highly recommend it. The first time you play it, as a content creator, I guarantee you're going to hit me up on Twitter and thank me, because it's going to totally change the way you do things. No, I'm not sponsored. I'm not sponsored by Pinnacle Entertainment.
Right. I'm buying it right now. I'm going to get this.
Yeah. I wear a D&D hat. I'm not sponsored by Pinnacle Entertainment, who puts out Savage Worlds.
Right.
It's just, as a content creator, trust me, it changes. I could talk this all day long, because what we're doing is we're starting off something that's brand new, like this content creation, this live play game. It's not brand new, but you know what I mean? Like, we're kind of in the building blocks of this thing. Like, we're trying to figure out what it is and the science behind it, for lack of a better word. And limiting your combat and limiting your dice rolls is the secret. And that's why Savage Worlds does it for me.
Yeah. We
I mean, I definitely agree with you on how combat can definitely slow down a campaign and maybe people lose interest. But there's ways to combat that besides just using a different system. Like, I find that in 5e, most of the time, having just environmental effects or having some sort of plot device going on at the same time.
You're right. Yeah.
As such as something unimportant as like a timer or like some sort of pressure of time gives the players more incentive to rush through combat, and also the DM can transition quickly.
Yeah, no, you're dead on, brother. That you've got to have like a phase to your combat, because we're all been there, man. We're like, okay, you've got the DM was smart enough to put 10 enemies on the battlefield for some reason. So I'm gonna go get a drink and I'll be back in an hour and it'll be my turn again. So we've all been there. But yeah, if you put it out in phases and you use economy, like hit point economy or whatever it is you do to regulate your economy, and you dump in phases, and a lot of it. This is going to be kind of sound, I don't know how the word is, kind of like, I don't know, cheesy, is like a video game. Like, there's a reason why video games create boss battles the way they do. Like, you get to it, like World of Warcraft, perfect example. You get to a certain point, the phase changes, and now everybody's like, oh shit, we got to go run over here and hide behind this rock, and you casters got to go run over here, and you tanks got to go run over there. There's a reason why they started doing that, and it's because... because it adds a dynamic to it, and if you can kind of harness that as a DM and do that in your combat, you're dead on. Like, that's how you do it.
Yeah, and we've actually had this situation, Luna and I, we were in two characters in the middle of a raid, and what happened was my character had the forethought to take his phone, put it on dial, mute the outgoing audio, stuff it in his body armor, and say, hey, we might need some reinforcements. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
And then my character went murder hobo on everybody, and
I think we all went murder hobo on that one.
And just started ripping people to shreds.
Pardon me, I almost slipped into character there and went off on a Russian rant.
I like to put, like, any time there's like a video game element that I know is like affordance for players, I love integrating it. Like, I had my players, go against some kind of like it was essentially Bowser. You know, it was a turtle dragon, but it was Bowser. And I had it just like the Mario 64 game where it had like little orbs around the arena. And if it charged at you and you were able to jump out of the way, it would hit the orb. And that's the only way you could damage it. So everyone had to change how they did their spells and how they did this because they wanted to get in line with it and line up so they could get out of the way or get it to hit the orbs. And they needed to hit the orbs 5 times, and then that would kill them.
That's
I
clever.
like that a lot. I want to play that, by the way. Could you put together a one shot just so we can run that? That would be freaking bitching. I would love that. That'd be
A little off topic, but I hear that what's called they're bringing all the old Mario games back, or all the 3D Mario games back for the Switch. You're gonna get 64, Sunshine, Galaxy.
Oh, nice.
That's wild.
Oh, there goes. My son's going to want that. I got to make that happen. Put that on the old list for the 16-year-old.
You know it'll be full price because it's Nintendo.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Loading now.
Yeah, exactly.
Bells.
Hey, no Animal Crossing.
Oh, I'm trying
Mac,
so hard.
what about-
My legs twitching.
What about you, Mac? What game system did you get started with, and what one's your favorite?
Oh, geez, Louise. So, out of high school, not quite in college, kind of poor, we managed to, quote, acquire some 3.5 books, and I say 3.5. I'm pretty sure we had about everything except for 4 books, 3 books, 2 books. We had the majority collection.
That's impressive.
Played that for a couple campaigns. I got eaten. I got eaten trying to hold the line. There was 6 rants, one of them a little inebriated. I decided, you know what, let's give the next iteration a try. Then someone went on and stole the book to it. I wrote them a letter apologizing when I found out what happened with the 4E. And currently running with Luna in a Savage Worlds campaign with the World of Darkness type lore. We've had... I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was the question?
Your favorite D&D, or not D&D, but your favorite TTRPG system now?
Ooh, probably Blades in the Dark. It's a D6 system. It kind of has similar rules to Apocalypse. You know, you get a set of dice and you roll them. Every time you put a pip in, like let's say I'm a sharpshooter, got my target, I roll hunt. If I've got like 5 dice in it, in which case I'm probably a sharpshooter master, I can roll them, but if I get like 2, 3 ones, there's going to be a complication. And it just... They put more emphasis on the character. I like how the whole, Victorian era gaslight, someone in your party goes down, they become a vicious, bloodthirsty ghost that will tear you to shreds and smear you along the wall like something out of a Tarantino movie, and it just... soft spot in my heart.
I love Blades in the Dark for their flashback mechanic, which is really cool. And like that's another thing I stole and put in a 5e, because like if you can say like, oh, you guys have X amount of flashbacks, your players can solve something and build out their backstory with it. And I think Blades in the Dark is really innovative for like a mechanic like that.
Yeah, but what do you have like as a cost measure? I mean, like Blades in the Dark, they use stress as a mechanic where you could burn as many as like 3 stress to go back in a scene, change something to better suit the situation, such as keeping the door unlocked, picking a pocket, flirting with the barmaid in case you need to cause a scene.
Yeah, I mean, I usually award it to players like once per level.
Once per level.
5e, and then like if they want to trade in a certain amount of inspiration, they can. But it's usually like it's usually about once per level, and then when we stream it, like players can like get gifted that. But it's always interesting because like it's a chance for me to also flesh out their backstory, and it's like I want to use a flashback, and sometimes I won't tell them like how that will solve their problem because they're not sure how it will. But I will explain to them like a flashback, and they have to kind of slumdog their way through it.
All right.
Interesting.
Yeah, Savage Worlds kind of has the same thing. They have that Benny system. So
Yeah.
like you can burn a Benny, and you earn bennies as you do things. It's actually encouraged that you give out a lot of bennies as a GM for those kind of things. Like, man, it'd really be great if we had a telescope right now. Oh, could I burn a Benny? Kind of like with Age of Empire and the like you were talking about before. I think it's is it force points? Am I saying that right? Or like you could burn something, like you're like, hey, I didn't bring this blaster. Oh, well, you can burn. I can't remember what it's called.
Destiny points.
Destiny points. Thank you. Yeah, same kind of premise. Yeah, it's important to have in a game, I think.
Nice. Well, I think at this
That's
point
like-
we're gonna. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was
Nope.
just gonna say, like,
I was gonna throw us to break, so go ahead. So.
Fakor is literally all that. That's how the entire thing works. Literally just, oh, I need something. I'm just gonna make it right now.
The
Nice.
entire game is just like a flashback of a. Okay, this is how it's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we're gonna do. Okay, now this is everything we need. Okay, it's gonna cost you this many points. Bam, done. There's. I like it.
Nice. All right. Well, I think we are going to take a quick 5-10 minute break. Let our guests get up, stretch their legs, refill their drinks, all that good stuff. Chat, if you have anything that you'd like to see us talk about after we come back, feel free to drop that in the chat. We've already got one question that's come up, so we'll start with that when we come back. So please stick around, and we will be back shortly. All right, we are back. Welcome back from that break, everybody. Thanks so much for sticking around. Thank you to the 3 people that voted in our poll, which is fine. Threw it up there just, to get a general sense of, what the chat's favorite gaming system was, or TTRPG system was. And there was a 3-way tie with 1 vote apiece for D&D, Pathfinder, and Savage Worlds. So there you go. But we did have a question that came in right before we went to break, so I want to start with that. And the question was the game system, so the TTRPG system that you dislike the most and why.
Oh, it's TTRPG system. I like the least.
Well,
I was gonna say Monopoly. I think Monopoly is a trash game. Trash game.
Oh,
With homebrew rules, and then it's not that bad.
You got to put in thug rules where you can rob your friends. That's the best.
I want to play a game of Monopoly where I could tear down this capitalistic system.
Workers unite.
Monopoly, workshop that. Yeah, workshop that.
Yeah, I mean, I say TTRPG system. The question specifically says game system that you hate the most. So, I mean, if we want to be true to the question, that probably opens up to NES
Ninja Turtles.
No kidding, that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, Battletoads 3rd stage.
The NES Batman. Forget about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, that really opens it up to all the
I'll answer first.
Go for it.
It actually, and okay, the word dislike is a tough word for me because I don't want to say dislike, but the one that I would go to least, Fantasy Flight Games. Sorry. I think the idea of narrative dice I think it's very interesting. But I think that in a streaming, and I'm going to be proven wrong, and people are going to blow me up, and it's just the way it is. In a streaming environment, when you have that many dice to negotiate, I think can take away from the deal. And I think what it also does is I think we kind of hinted on it, that when you're rolling the dice, like you said, as a GM, the narrative dice, it's almost like the players get put on training wheels, and they're kind of like, because I've GM'd Age of Empire. And with my players, it was like they kind of got put on the training wheels because they're waiting for the dice to give them a reason to RP a moment or to explain things.
Yeah.
And so I think the idea it's one of those things that looks really good on paper, but then when it comes out in the game, it just ends up bogging things down and kind of putting up a hindrance inadvertently. And so like I said, but I'm not going to say I dislike it, because that's just not fair. I mean, I play it. I mean, I love Star Wars. I'm Star Wars guy. I'm wearing the shirt.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like, I am the Star Wars guy. Like, you know who Darth Bane is? You're my best friend. But and
You
so
should see him and Mike get into a conversation.
oh
with
yeah,
each other.
Mike and I would go for
The
an
rest
hour
of us just walk away.
yeah. So I don't want to say I dislike, because I hate spreading that kind of feeling. But I would probably try to turn to, like, if I want to play Star Wars game, I go to like West End Games version, or or what they threw out. They just re-released it like last year. Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, I think it was Wizards of the Coast put it out. I can't remember, or TSR put out a D20 version. So yeah, that's my answer.
Interesting. Anybody else have a least favorite system? They did clarify in chat. They said, I meant TTRPG.
Never tell me the odds. It's incredibly brittle in how it plays. Like, you have an aspect and you lose that, you're not getting that back. Maybe that's good for, like, I don't know. Oof. Maybe that's good for something, but if the dice aren't in it for you, you're fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say mine's probably Call of Cthulhu for similar reasons. Like, it's a lot of fun, but like, I could see the madness, like, counters if you're playing with somebody who really wants to, like, emphasize those, like, parts of the game. You could find yourself in a lot of RP scenarios that could lead you into having your character permanently blinded or going insane, and some people can't handle, like, don't RP that well, or it can lead to just difficulties in, like, wanting to play the game anymore because you feel like you're stagnated in certain ways. But yeah, that would otherwise it's a great game. I think that if you have the right group of people, it could be a lot of fun, but not for everyone.
Less dice rolls. What was that?
Just like, that's the only thing I just Thaco. I just
Oh, dude.
Thaco.
Oh yeah,
Everything else
Thaco.
about old school D&D, I really like, but I just don't like Thaco.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was. As a kid, you were always like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 19, 18, 25. What? Wait, what are we doing? Yeah. But yeah, but it's funny. But that's like that's when you know you're. I hate to put it this way, but like, you're one of the geezers, is because when you're like, yeah, I did that. I could have done that in my head, you know. And they're like, what was it like to use? The young ones are like, what was it like to have Thaco? What was it like to have wagons to drive in? You know, what was it like to not have cell phones? You know, like it's a kind of a fun thing. But yeah.
I'm secretly storing away all this information right now because I have a one-shot brewing in my mind that I need to write at some point, and I don't know what system I'm going to use yet. So this is, I'm going to absorb all of this. So
I am a fan of any game that I have the least amount of, and I know that people are like, you're stupid, but least amount of dice rolls. The more you can limit dice rolls, the better off you're, in my opinion. Clarify, exclamate, underline. Is the dice rolls, the more you're taking chance from the players and their acting, and I mean, you need to have it. It has to be a part of the game. Do not get me wrong, folks. I'm not saying take it out, because that's the part of the game that adds the gaming of it. That is the gaming of the game. But the more you can limit dice rolls and the less dice heavy your system can be, especially in a streaming environment, you're going to be a lot better off.
So
That's my
what about
opinion.
games like Shadowrun with heavy dice rolling mechanics like that?
Yeah, I would turn to Savage Worlds and do. I would go to Savage Worlds and do. Interface Zero, and they've got so much. That's my quick answer. Nothing against it, and I've played Shadowrun. I played Shadowrun when I was like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. So I'm not hating on anything, but I've just felt like the more empowered you give the player, you just get a better, to me, you just get a better deal, and people have a chance to really express themselves. Like, and that's when I tell DMs, I'm like, look, guys, if the roll, don't make them roll unless like literally the outcome is like balancing the campaign. Like, don't make. I got on a horse. Give me animal handling. Okay, I ride the horse. Give me another animal handling. Okay, we're still running. Give me some more animal handling all day, baby. Let's roll this up.
So-
It's kind of like you don't need to make them roll for everything unless it's real. Unless there's literally a chance of failure, and this is the caveat. Unless there's literally a chance of a failure that is impacting, don't make them roll for it. If there's something that needs to be investigated, that's what a DC's for, right? But if it's imperative that someone finds it, well, you're kind of forced the player into being like, okay, if I search for an hour, do I find what I'm looking for? You never want to have that be the case. If you ever have that be the case with your players, you know that you've set something wrong, because now you're making the role dictate the path of progression. That's just something you don't do.
I agree with that. So I do a lot of these are things I want my players to find, but I don't put in places.
Yeah.
I wait for them to say, like, well, I'm going to search underneath the desk. I'm like, shit, okay, yeah. You find a hidden contraption underneath the desk. You've seen this before. You had a desk like this when you were in college. It's got, so like things like that where, and then just dish out the secrets and the clues that I want to based off of like what they do as actions. And then they're like, I found it. I'm so smart. I'm like, yeah.
Good job, bub. Yeah, I love that. Don't make it roll, and don't make people roll just because that's the rule. Like it's almost like a DM, and I want to kind of call this out because I've been there. It's almost like the DM's afraid to make the call. It's almost like the DM's afraid to take on that responsibility of the climactic moment or the plot point moment. And so they're kind of like, oh, well, roll a perception check. Okay, why am I rolling 12? This is like the 12th perception check I've rolled in the last hour. Why? That's why we have passive perception, passive, whatever it is, whatever the insight, all these passives. I'm a big fan of those because it gets rid of the dice rolls, and it puts the burden on the DM to just make sure you keep track of that kind of stuff. But less dice. That's my chant for 2020. Less dice rolls. Less dice rolls.
Or as a DM, just roll dice just for the hell of it behind your screen.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Just give them
So true.
You're rolling like, all right, it works.
When they're just talking and like they get lost in their conversations, and you're like, oh man, I really need to get home. And you're like, just start rolling dice. I'm like, oh God, what's going on? Okay, we got to get back on it.
So, Tony, what you're saying is if there's a knick-knack in the caddy shack, give the dog a bone.
Yeah,
Good evening, everyone.
I have no idea what that means, but yeah.
That's
I'm
it.
all
Get
for
out.
I don't know. It's interesting that you say that though, because like for me, when I first got started, I was fresh to 5e. All my players were fresh to 5e, and I found that they wanted to roll dice. Like they were there to like they came in here being like, "This is D&D, right? You roll dice," and I find that, obviously you don't overdo it, like you were saying. I love the example with animal handling. It's like, no, you roll animal handling once, and that is now like your bond with that horse or whatever. You don't need to keep doing it. You want to jump your horse over something. No, you're not going to run, depending on that first roll, that dictates everything else.
No. But if you're going to surf on top of the horse,
yeah.
Arrow,
Right.
Okay, I'm going
right.
This could be really fun.
Yeah, and that's understandable too. And like I said, please, I know it has to happen. Like that. Right. That is the gaming of the game. That if you don't have that, you don't have a game, right? You just have people.
Because there's a level of complication to all of this. I mean, like someone said, there's a difference between, and speaking from experience, climbing on a horse and shooting a bow off of a horse.
Yeah.
Don't shoot a bow off a horse, especially when the horse doesn't know.
Yeah.
But at the same token, there's just. And I'm trying to get some stuff together for a campaign in August. The way I was told about DMing is like you're running a tavern, if you will. You're not here to make them pay through it. I mean, it's certainly nice to get a little something out of it yourself, but at the same time, you're providing a sort of experience, if you will. You're a travel guide in your own home. So I don't know. I guess it would be best.
I kind of get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, I think that as a counter argument, sort of, there is sort of an appeal of having something hidden in your campaign that is very difficult to find. Like I always put like a few wild cards in whatever one shot that I'm running that I don't expect the players to find. They're usually like the reward may not be worth it, but honestly, sometimes just figuring it out is a cool like little addition. A lot of the times I establish this with like folklore or rumors or something that happens before they actually get into like combat or adventuring scenarios that like is a little bit of foreshadowing. Just like using story elements is a great way to lead the party into specific treasures that you're trying to like emphasize.
I can get with that. A lot of one of the mechanics I like to use for that is dramatic task or a plot task.
I
where you're
love
like,
the
okay,
concept of a dramatic task.
a dramatic task. Back to Savage World. Sorry, guys. I swear to God, I don't work for the few people. I promise. I swear to God, I
on
don't.
their payroll and just not telling
dramatic
us.
task, and I guarantee you guys have done this in your games, but they just kind of like they were one of the systems that it was like, okay, this is a thing. You can do this. So dramatic task. You guys are all my players. I say, okay, you've got 5 rounds to make 10 successes. And the DC is, in Savage Worlds, it's going to be relatively low. It's going to be like a 9 because you're rolling off a D4 success ratio, okay? So even a 9 is like rolling a 4, or you have to explode it, whatever it is, the numbers. And that, in your case, I think is perfect, where you're like, okay, you've solved the puzzle. I'm trying to alliterate on what you might be thinking. You've made it to said place. You found said secret passage. You are in said trap room. You now have a dramatic task. 10 successes, work your way through it. Now, that's a lot of dice rolls, so now I sound like a freaking crazy ass because I'm saying less dice rolls. But when you create in a thematic situation, I think you kind of get what I'm throwing out there a little bit. You know what I mean? And I like what you're saying, too. Like, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to that, this was actually something that happened relatively recently. We're doing an investigation, and we were checking out a tip that led into something. And we're very glad we did. And while we didn't get the exact answers we would have needed, enough was provided by the dungeon master that during this investigation, that later on down the line, thematically, my character put 2 and 2 together and went, "Oh shit, we're dealing with this." Well,
That makes a difference.
There's a fun kind of mechanic I use. It's race conditions, and it's where you need to get a total of X. And so I think it's really like the best example is like an arm wrestling contest. And I've seen like people do like 3 rolls, like whoever gets the best of 3. But the race condition is like the first person to get to 50 will win the arm wrestling. So you roll exposed to your player, and they roll. And it's like, okay, I got 25. I'm like, okay, I got 20. You're like, all right, so it's a little bit on your side. And whoever gets to 50 wins. So you roll a couple times, and whoever hits it first, then it's really interesting because you don't want to have it be one roll, and your barbarian rolls that one once, and a halfling just knocks them out. But then you have this give and take where like someone's up top and then someone's below, and it makes sense. And I think race conditions are kind of ideal. Like, it's best of and race conditions are unique ways to do like checks, I guess.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a chase mechanic that I've used in the past. Like they were actually in a scenario where like you're chasing a robber or something along those lines, or you're running away from the cops. And whenever I'm in those types of situations, I just bog them down with environmental effects, and I explain everything really deeply. And depending on the routes that they take, most of the time it comes with like a little map for them to look at. And I just have different modifier values over which routes they come to take. And most of the time, if they think up of a route that I didn't think of, I give them like the highest modifier, and I just let it go off. Anyway, I tell them this plan beforehand. Like I'm like, oh yeah, there's multiple routes. If you pick the ones that I don't think you're gonna take, I'm probably gonna give you something great.
I love that. That's that flash fiction element that I talk about with gaming. I don't know if you guys know about flash fiction. Study it if you do, because it's a key to help every DM in the world. Yeah, dude. Like seriously, it is amazing.
No,
Yeah,
hold on.
Flash
Let me look it up. I'm gonna
it's an amazing. It's a writing craft. It's something if you can take classes on. It's a one. But yeah, another thing with like the less dice rolls is like look at your combat. Like if you're analyzing your combat, you're like, okay, what's more important, having 10 skeletons there, or do I have 3 heavy duty skeletons and 2 archers, and beef them up a little bit? Okay, how does that look with my hit point economy? How does that gonna? Am my people just gonna be sitting? Because every time you roll that dice, it's success or failure, right? It's the only way. It's yes or no. It's a binary world that we live in with that. So you're either gonna succeed or you're gonna fail. So what's more important, having a whole bunch of mobs and creating a thematic like Avengers Endgame like last scene, or is it the Thanos fight? What's better? Which one's going to be less dice rolls? So that's another philosophy I put towards too is use that in your combat. Like make sure. I mean, every time you're making your players roll, you're just ticking that clock, and especially if you got viewers. You know, now the 2 times people lose viewers, middle of combat when you guys take a break. You can everybody who tracks your numbers knows that's the case. Middle of combat and whenever you take your break is when you lose your viewer.
Going back to what Clay was talking about, as far as interesting ways of solving problems, I got a question for everyone. What's the most interesting way you've solved an encounter in a tabletop RPG?
Oh, that's
And
a
it
good
could-
question.
Bonus points if it was actually something that the GM allowed. Because if Luna knows me, she'll know I'll text her at like 6 a.m, getting off work. Hey, so I have an idea on how to break this person from hypnotism. All we need is a cell phone and a vampire.
True story. That definitely did not happen today.
Definitely not today.
Oh, I'm trying to think what the oh man. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say that it was necessarily a creative solution, but it was a pretty epic move. We had a in Tabletop Tavern 1, and Mac, I'm sure you're going to know exactly where this is going in a second. In Tabletop Tavern 1, early on, the season was just getting started. Like we were still kind of finding our rhythm. My character was not really out of her shell yet. I wasn't really out of my shell yet. But Mike DMs it, and he just was constantly like, guys, just try it. Just go for the thing that you want to try. And so we were in a room with one enemy that could fly, and for whatever reason, none of us could hit her. And so so the room that we were in was a room that had kind of a stage area that was about 5 feet up from the main floor, and then the enemy was another 5 feet up from that. And my character is extremely acrobatic, and so I said I would like to run from where I'm standing on the main floor, jump up onto the stage, and then jump from the stage up into the air and attack the flying thing with my short sword. And he was like, roll for it. And so I did, and I made the jump up onto the stage. I made the jump up into the air and then missed the attack on the enemy, but then had a pretty epic landing. So I wouldn't say like it didn't work as a method to defeat the enemy, but it was a pretty epic move. So
I had some players. They did. I put them in. We had did like a live game at a convention, and they had to go through this cave, which was narrative magic darkness. So they couldn't banish it with a spell or anything. And I made all of them wear blindfolds, and the audience could see the map and where the players were going, but all the walls were just spikes. So if they made a wrong turn, they would hurt themselves. So they had to like kind of keep in mind the route they went and decide if they want to go like forward, left, or right, and it would move it on the map. And so they realized at a certain point that like they were just going to like kill themselves if they just kept doing this like fail and success. So they would essentially pick someone up and move them to the back of the group, and someone else would take up the like, I'm going to get hurt, I'm going to walk into the spikes. to keep moving forward. And as frustrating as it was, they still to this day thought it was one of their favorite experiences they've ever done for D&D.
That's really
I
cool.
love it.
I got two. One was just a really cool thing that I let the player get away with was it was one scenario in Tomb of Annihilation where there is a airship that has crashed in the vines of a tree, and I had monsters attacking them, gorilla lions attacking a bunch of people who were left stranded there, basically like hunkered down inside of the wreckage of this ship. And we had a lot of they had a lot of difficulty getting people down safely because it was very high up, and they were having difficulty getting up there, and there was a lot of saving each other, like using spells, like lots of spell slots, which was like making it weaker. And the barbarian was having a tough time. He was rolling all these bad things. But eventually he thought up of the idea of like after a flub, he grabbed onto a vine and started running on the side of the boat in order to get to a lower section of the ship that was hanging. And I just thought it was like a cool epic moment that he pulled off like pretty well with an extra dice roll that I just gave to him because I thought it was an awesome idea. And yeah, it played in and like turned the whole tides of the battle. And the other one is a little bit more goofy. I was taking part in a sort of a monster talent show where there was a battle of the bands at the end, and there was one person on our opposing band side who was a minotaur and had a very boisterous mother in the crowds, who is often heckling and belittling some of the other people in the class that were coming up before the battle of the bands. And my constant harassment of this woman caused her to get into such an enragement that we were able to convince her to get up on the stage and help us in the oncoming combat with a bunch of goblins that were stacked on top of each other to make some sort of like puppet monster.
Oh my gosh.
That was a goofy night, but a lot of fun.
Sounds like it.
That sounds it. Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I all I can picture is like little kids stacked on top of each other, like with a trench coat on.
Yeah, that's essentially what it was.
Yeah.
But they had like they kind of had like mechanical arms so they could actually do something.
Oh
Nice.
gosh. Anybody else have any?
I mean, my players that I am ending a Age of Rebellion campaign with the Fantasy Flights, mostly because I'm just getting tired of it. Like I said, I like the system, but as a DM, it's just too much for me.
Yeah.
Mostly because of how creative my players are. They think of like, I don't over prep, so like I'll prep what I think I need, and then they just go in literally any other direction. I'm like, but
You're like,
I set
thank
them up.
you.
Yeah, right.
40 hours of prep out the door.
Right. Oh, never 40 hours.
I've
Maybe like
never
2.
been part of a party that's done that before. No,
Yeah.
sir.
I mean, and like to be honest, that's one thing that I love about D&D. At least for me, it's a little easier because there's more content out there. So like if they decide not to go fight the dragon or whatever, I can just open the monster manual and be like, oh, you want to go that way? Well, now there's a shambling mound, and or now there's a necromancer down the street.
Yeah.
But with these guys, they broke a siege of a rebel base by just getting on the comms, hacking into Imperials, the communications, and just and like it was a character that doesn't, or a player that doesn't really role play a lot. And then finally he got into it by like pretending to be an Imperial officer, being like, oh, they've broken through this part, like fire on our defenses and stuff like that. And just like, it was really fun and well done. I was like, and it was just nice to see a player that doesn't RP finally break out of his shell. And I was like, yes.
Yeah,
perfect,
definitely.
Everything I
Love
wanted.
that. That's beautiful.
That's one of the things that like I've been playing TTRPGs for about 12 years, give or take. And and it's funny because RP is still one of the biggest things that I struggle with, even though it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And it's funny because so the other day, Mike was setting up the graphics for our new show, and I noticed that he had one of the numbers we have on the screen when we play, a rotating slideshow of all of the characters with their pictures and their stats. And so it'll say, EV heart, and it'll have, my base attack bonus and, my intelligence and strength and everything. And he sent me mine, and I said, that looks great, except for that I don't have an intelligence of 18. And then I was like, I thought about it for a minute, and I go, nor would I ever want to have a character with an intelligence of 18, because I am not that smart. So, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I would never want to be that person that would have to come up with that stuff on the fly, because I have such a hard time. Like I part of the reason why RP is hard for me is because I don't always think outside the box first. And so when I do, like, I think it surprises everybody, because I'll be like, whatever happens, like the jumping off and trying to attack something in the air was something that was just, what, let's just see what happens when I do it. But it also kind of goes back to what Devon was saying before about with new players, tell me what you want to do, and then we'll look for the stats that do it. That's something that I've started doing more, like, let me think about what I want to do and then see if my stats allow it, as opposed to what do my stats say I can do.
I once told my players they were going through this dungeon, and they come across this. I was like, there's a lich. He's been trapped here forever. He's gonna let you pass, but he wants to be entertained. So he wants you guys to put on a show. And then I said, I'm gonna give you guys an hour. And then I went and got some dinner. And I came back an hour later, and they had music queued up. This is like a home game. It wasn't even a stream. They had music queued up. They had a dance routine. They had the spells prepared of all right, and at this point, Dancing Lights shows up. And they did an entire 10-minute production. And I was so impressed. I was like, you pass through. You don't have to fight the lich. Fighting the lich was a complete legitimate option. I was like, you have to put a play. And they're like, oh my God, shut up. Yes. They were so ready for this shit.
I love that. That's beautiful.
That's terrific. Oh my God, I really love that.
Oh my God, that's outstanding.
And I just hope that not a single one of the DMs that I play under right now is listening, because I do not want to have to do that.
Well, and that's kind of a good segue to my question. Did we clear that last question? Is our audience still got some more?
Nope, we're all set. Go ahead, Tony.
Okay. So we're all students of the game, right? We're all students of this content creation. What is one trend maybe not even a trend? What is one gimmick, trend, new thing that you're seeing other content creators do that has really caught your eye, or is something that you're like, okay, this has legs. There's something to this. Is there any one thing that you guys see people are doing that you are impressed?
That's a good question too. I mean, I have a feeling I know what your answer is, Tony, but
I've seen a couple streams that we're friends with take one of our concepts and roll with it themselves as their own version of a thing we've done. So that's it's more congratulatory on my side than anything, but I think it's a really fun way to play. We actually we've been trying to work with one of our sponsors, WizKits, and we're trying to get this thing we've played into some game stores. So hopefully when this all ends, we're going to start our it's called the Gauntlet, and the idea is we let our viewers and such create characters, and we WizKids sends us a bunch of boxes, and we just open up one at random, and that's what everyone has to fight against, is what's ever in that box. But we're seeing
cool idea.
A bunch of friend streams. They've done the we call ours the Gauntlet. Our friends over at Quest and Chaos started the Mitten, which I thought was really cute. And so it's essentially, you don't know what's going to. It's a chance to see really crazy builds because there's a lot of people that do like the weird crunchiness of D&D, and they want to see like, well, what happens if I'm like a backseat barbarian, and I'm of this type of subclass with polearm master, and people love to see those like kind of play out. And so there's like this weird niche, I think, that people are like looking for like really heavy combat, but it's also always fun because like, oh, this is a 26 challenge rate, you guys are screwed.
Oh,
Yeah, I think the audience interaction is a big one that we all need to master. Keep working at that. I think that's the secret to what we're doing. I mean, we're basically merging live theater with serial television into like this thing this active interactive storytelling. My two things are really, like I just kind of hit on it, is approaching your campaign building, and this is a very thin line to walk because people are going to chew me up. Approach your campaign building like you storyboard. Have your plot points. Not that you're gonna railroad your characters, but have plot points. Have a path of progression that your characters walk down based off of level. Go into a campaign with a projection of a season, of a year, of a set of seasons. Plan it out like a serial, like NBC plans out Big Bang Theory. Like, not so much you're going to script it, but understand that you're making a timed investment for your audience, because they're choosing us. They're choosing to spend their time with us, and we owe it to them to give them the best bang for their time.
100% agree.
Yeah, like you are an actor, you are a theatrical producer, director. Take on that role and own it. So that's what I really admire, the content creators out there who have caught that and are trying to make that happen. And we're all trying and failing and trying and failing and trying and being very successful, and some people are way successful. So I really admire that. And one thing that I think is just fascinating, I'm going to talk about these guys for the rest of my life. Perception Studios.
I knew that's where you were going.
These guys, they play D&D with puppets. And it's not like a cheap, production. We're talking like full-on puppetry on a set. There's 3 puppets that play. You have a human.
D&D Sesame Street.
Oh, dude!
Yeah,
but
much.
it's like
they look
raw.
like Muppets.
It's
Yeah.
like D&D. There was that Muppet show that came out not too long ago, like the adult version. Something Murders. I can't remember what it was called.
Oh yeah.
Happy Time Murders.
Yeah.
Happy Time Murders,
So
that was
imagine that, but playing D&D. So they're like dropping F-bombs, and then, but the reason why I love them isn't just because of that gimmick, but because like everybody who comes into their audience, they say hi to, or they at least try to. One of the 3, they try to say hi. If you say, "Hey guys, how's it going?" The puppeteers who are under the table controlling these things are reading something I don't even know, and they're, the guy turns to the camera. He's like, "Hey, how's it going, DiceBarbarian?" And this guy, and like, and what you do is, and as you donate to them, when they get to a certain point, whoever, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but you get to pick what they sing about. So you can be like, sing about Geordie LaForge. And all these puppets, they start freaking singing about Geordie LaForge right in the middle. And I know it sounds corny, and like, Tony, that sounds stupid as shit. But when you watch it, and then they're playing a D&D game at the same time, for those of you who are like a student of entertainment, it's brilliance. It's like, this is fully interactive for the audience. This is giving a gimmick that's something that nobody else is doing. It's good RP, and it's freaking puppets. Like, not saying you need to have anything that glorified to get a good quality content out there, but if we're just throwing congratulations out, it's pretty ingenious. Like, it's pretty, what it is, the elements that they're hitting are not a bad word, but the audience interaction, giving people something new, and giving something people to watch while you're RPing. I think if we can kind of harness that as a community and as content creators in our own way of doing that, if that makes sense, is what really is catching my eye right now.
Yeah, I mean, the audience interaction piece, I think, really is a big thing. And I've seen different channels do it a lot of different ways. Some do it, How I Nerd, we use channel points because we want to make sure that the things that we offer are accessible to anybody who wants to come and hang out in our chat. And so our viewers can spend their channel points on awarding a +1, +2, or +3 to any of the players or to the DM. Or for our Savage Worlds campaign, they can award a Benny to any of the players, or they can award the DM a reroll. So the DM then gives out at his discretion. And so I like that. I like that we have that. That's a way that we can sort of pull the community into our world. The other thing that we do with How I Nerd is our Discord has a channel for each of the shows where people can generate NPCs that we then pull into the universe. So it may be like, one really great example is we had somebody create a character, Squee, who is this this goblin that got he left his tribe for various reasons. And I mean, he started off as like this one random NPC that was going to show up for one episode, and now he's a recurring character that comes back like every couple of episodes because the audience just loved him, loved the DM's portrayal of him, loves who he is, all of that stuff. So it's stuff like that can make it really fun. Plus, the other thing too is our campaigns that we're running right now. Well, the two Pathfinder campaigns are both like the one that we play on Sunday night that Squee is in is Rise of the Rune Lords. So it's a pre-generated storyline that people have played, but by throwing in these extra NPCs and things like that and having audience interaction, it allows for the storyline to be different for people who have maybe played it before and are watching now. This is all new for them too. So it's additional content that they didn't have their own experience with.
Agreed. I think like a lot of the times when I NPC, I'll just type in the chat. Like, give me the name of the NPC, tell me a little bit about them and what's their voice. And 7, 15 different suggestions come through, and I kind of pick and choose from all of them. So I'm like, okay, this person's a hobgoblin. It's a she, her, and they sound like Sean Connery. Great, excellent, thank you. And then boom, that's almost how all my NPCs are created, is just from chat suggestion. Because my players don't really know what's going on the chat screen, because we usually play all in the same room, so they don't get to look at Twitch.
Yeah.
So, and then they're like, "Where do you come?" I was like, "This is all our viewers." This is great.
I love that. See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's the kind of science we need to find as content creators. Is how do we, like, do we have whole production teams? Do we have like the crew, the cast, and then we have like a whole production team where you got like a showrunner and you got like, you got a director and a producer, and you've got like a second unit, and they're running what could be behind the screens, and you've got the DM who's coordinating with. I mean, like, that's where my brain goes. I think about it too much, but like my futuristic version of what I see is like, you have a production set, you have a second crew, you have an entire cyber group of individuals that are regulating what's going on, that are your mods, that are communicating somehow through this, and the DM is coordinating it to the best of their ability. And you have a showrunner who's blah, 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 get this, drop this, get this, and is totally on the whole thing. And that's where I think this is going. In order for us to progress to the next, to where I think this can go, is moving to that path of progression. But I mean, it all comes down to capital, right? But we don't need to get into philosophical shit. But like, if we can harness that in our own little cells of groups of individuals and communicate with each other in a broader community, I think we'd be onto something.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that I often find myself looking at different D&D podcasts and other streams that have a little bit more production value than the stuff that we're doing right now, and constantly thinking about ways to improve. One cute thing that I see often in like the podcast community is they'll often have like in-character recaps and like in-character sponsorships and stuff like that. Like things that are just goofy, like calling out to their community and stuff with their character voices, and silly things that can just show your love to everybody who's supporting you. And I would love to have more of that in my own stuff. And I think it's a really great addition to any type of expressive media.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Video game streamers do that, right?
Yeah.
Video game streamers are learning to do that. I mean, it's a little more of an intimate setting with them, but that's what they do. Like, you sit down and watch, Paladin. I can't remember her name. Paladin something, but she's from Australia. She's like intimately talks to her, like she knows these people. And she's like has conversations with them every day. And I'm not saying we can ever get to that level. That's far more dynamic. You got an entire cast, an entire crew, and all this stuff, and different people coming in all the time.
Yeah.
But if we can find a way to harness that, I think you're right on. I think the more that we can identify with the audience at an individual level, because they don't get that. You can turn on a football team and nobody knows who the hell Tony Carlson is while I'm watching the damn Bears play. What does that even matter? But I go into Perception Studios and I go, hey guys, I gotta go to bed. Have a great night. And they go, bye, DiceBarbarian. DiceBarbarian's leaving. No. And they do like a thing. It's what? I'm not saying you can do that every time. Not saying that's something everybody can do. Not something everybody should do. Everybody's got their own nuance to life. But there's something there that we can grab onto these audience who are right there. Like, they're literally, I'm looking at my phone. You guys are right there. If there's a way that I can connect with you to draw you into my story, now we're all talking together. Now we're all telling a story together. And I think that's where we need to go with this.
But at the same token, it's kind of hard to run all this from a smaller perspective. I mean, this is just my experience, mind you. You got one person running the game. You got a bunch of other people playing the game. It's a weird chaos. But if you can get that chaos right, I'm pretty sure you can boost interaction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some people I know of who have foregone the whole +1 in Benny's thing when it comes to chat and audience. And not gonna lie, it is kind of cathartic to have an extra +1 for your favorite character when shit gets a little messed up. Pardon. But even still, for some people, it's just like, that's too much. That messes with the game.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I think there's pros and cons, and I don't think anybody's gotten it perfect yet. But
Exactly.
when somebody does, everybody will start doing it that way.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, we got to be students of this science. We're all trying to figure it out together. And if you're a content creator and you're not watching other content creators because you got like a hang up with that, because there's a lot of us out there who got like this hang up where they're like, oh, I don't watch this. I don't watch anybody. I only do my thing. If I watch somebody else, no, I don't want to do that. I don't understand that philosophy. I'm not judging anyone who doesn't do that, but that's like, if I was a high school football, like a Critical Role, if I was a high school football player, what did I watch? Sunday football. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying Critical Role is better than all of us. I don't want to put them on that pedestal because no one deserves to be there. But when you see someone who observes that kind of, or who experiences and has that exposure of success, there's nothing wrong with looking at that and going, what is this? What inspiration do I draw from this? What is my version of what they're doing? That's literally how you create anything in the world. So if you're not studying your other content creators, then you're doing yourself and your audience and your cast a disservice, because you don't have to copy anybody. You're not selling anybody out, and you're not selling anybody out. You're a student of your craft. This is a craft. You're a student of your craft. You got to watch other people.
Definitely.
If nothing else, to know what the audience is going to expect, because there is audience expectation, and we've all got to live up to that regardless.
Definitely.
The thing is, though, some people live and die by following Critical Role's format, whereas other people are like, we can't do that. This just isn't possible for us.
Right.
I mean, it's not with the understanding of like, oh, we're here to have fun is the reason why they're not, but just this is complicated. This is complicated for me to explain, but the crux of it is, I guess the reason why Critical Role works is because these are people who are in their element, who are professional in what they are doing, providing it for something that they enjoy, which is, if done properly, is kind of like Ghostbusters, lightning in a bottle, if you will. But at the same token, not many people agree with the Critical Role format, and I've actually bumped into a couple of people who are like, "No, I think we need to follow the Critical Role format here," and they're like, "We can't do that sort of stuff."
You gotta follow the format that
Yeah.
to your audience, you know. And there's different
Yeah.
audiences and different things to them.
Yeah, when I know when we first went live with Tabletop Tavern, you know, we had a couple people say like, you know, oh, you know, this is you're not like Critical Role. Well, no, we're not, because we're not Critical Role.
Right.
You know, like if you want to watch Critical Role, feel free. Like you're more than welcome to, you know, and if you want to watch us, that's cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
All
and,
right.
and like, don't get me wrong, like it's not about watching someone and then mimicking them.
Yeah.
It's about you need to study everyone, even not as much as you can. Correction, not everyone. Who has the time to do that? Nobody does. But even down to the content creators who might have 5 people watching, because there might be something going on that you gain inspiration from that they're doing that you're like, oh, that's brilliant. Like, that's freaking great, you know?
Yeah.
So don't misunderstand. I'm not saying anybody has to copy anyone, but you need to at least do your research in anything that you do. That's even just in a job. So that's what I mean.
I see a lot of content creators leaning towards more improvisational comedy than actual like role playing and like character development. Like it becomes more like goofy and like spontaneous. And like it's all just habit, what people want to watch and listen to. You've just got to stick with what you're good at and watch other people and figure out how to get it so you can show off your best assets. And people will like it.
I think at the end of the day, what it really just boils down to is that we're all just here to have fun, and that's it. And unfortunately with that, we need to wrap it up because I know Devon has to get over to his own show. So we are we're gonna
too. So
yeah, that too. So we're gonna wrap things up. Just really quick, I want to do a quick round robin. Again, just remind everybody of your name and where they can find you, and we'll tie it up from there. So Devon, why don't we start with you?
I'm Devon. You guys find me at TotalPartyChill on Twitch, Facebook, TikTok, wherever you are, we're there.
TikTok?
We're here for you.
Great.
Nice meeting you, Devon.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on. Stefan, go ahead.
I'm Stefan, TheStefinator, all over the place. I'm on ParadiceRPG every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Having a blast in paradise.
Nice.
Nice meeting you, Stefan.
Yeah.
I'm with Stefan. I'm with ParadiceRPG at ParadiceRPG at Twitter. I play a puppet. I mean, a gnome. Come check us out.
Nice.
Nice meeting you
Matt.
both.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you guys.
Very
Yeah,
much.
a lot of fun.
Matt, go ahead.
Hi, folks. I'm Jackal, MacJackalRanger, Dice Mercenary, unaffiliated. You can find me over at Dice Tyrants on Monday. I play a Russian vampire arms dealer, La Sombra, with shadow tentacles. It's a mouthful, I know. Don't ask too many questions. I'm on Twitch, Instagram, Twitter. Yeah.
Yes. And I want to thank everybody for being here. Tony, give us a wrap up, and we'll.
Yeah, DiceBarbarian on everything. Most time I'm on Twitter. I've got my own Twitch, DiceBarbarian. Got my own Discord, DiceBarbarian. Friday nights we drop our Terrace podcast for Savage Worlds through Dice Tyrants. You can find that on any podcast place. Just look for a Terrace Savage Worlds Dice Tyrants. And Wednesday nights I'm here with How I Nerd, playing Orion Dominias, a little Western wizard. He's a kind of fun guy. You can catch that Wednesday nights here. And all that stuff. Find me on Twitter.
Yeah.
Thank you, Luna.
Yeah, thank you guys so
Luna.
much for being here. I am Gamer Mom Luna, better known as Luna. You will find me here on the How I Nerd channel, Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern with Tabletop Tavern. You will not find me here on Monday nights during the Neural Nexus Zero, which is our 1980s cyberpunk campaign, which is a really, really great show. There are 3 episodes in. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, please do. Let's see. Tuesday nights, we take off right now. Wednesday nights, we just started our Tabletop Tavern 2, which launched last night, so you can catch the VOD if you haven't had the chance to see that. And Thursday nights, you will find me right here again next week with Tales from the Tavern, 8 p.m. Eastern. I think that's everything. So we are going to actually wrap this up. We are going to go and we are going to raid TotalPartyChill because they are live, so we can go hang out with Devon a little bit more and catch their quiz show. Yeah, play some trivia.
about to
I'm
win this
super
thing.
excited. Yeah.
It was great meeting all of you. Such a great conversation.
Yeah,
It was
so
a
much
pleasure,
fun.
Thank you.
Nothing but success to
thanks
everybody.
again.
Nice to meet
And-
everyone.
Yeah, have a great night.
Cool.